Hello again, everybody. I'm Chris Mooneyham, and welcome to the TCA All Sports Report. As always, brought to you by Fox 5 Atlanta, 680 The Fan, and of course, the Touchdown Club of Atlanta. Well, Happy New Year to you all out there. Hope you had a great holiday season, and a Happy New Year as well. And now it's time to get back to work. No, in all honesty, hope you all had a great holiday season, and I guess we're all getting back to work coming up this week, aren't we? Well, unless you're some of us in the broadcast business, in which case you had to work through most of the holiday season, like yours truly, but you'll never ever hear me complain, especially when I get to cover the 2014 Chick-fil-A Foundation Georgia Junior Bowl. This, as I promised, I promised you a few weeks back, we're going to spend 3 weeks solid talking about one of the great all-star games across the country. Week one, we talked about the week that is the Georgia Junior Bowl. All the great classes that these kids go through. They learn from professionals who have made mistakes throughout their life, mistakes in college or mistakes in the pros, mistakes with their finances. They take ACT and SAT prep classes. They deal with NCAA compliance. They learn about recruiting, social media behavior. What else? What am I forgetting? They learn to balance a checkbook. They learn everything there is that you can learn. Fellowship of Christian Athletes comes out during the week. The week of the Georgia Junior Bowl really is, in many ways, to be quite honest with you, more important really than even the ball game itself. But of course, the ball game is just as important, and that's what we talked about last week, building up to the Georgia Junior Bowl. It's a great opportunity for a lot of kids that play for smaller programs or in smaller cities, in smaller towns across the state of Georgia that do not get the pub that they deserve, even though they deserve to play at the next level. You know, that's the original reason that Joe Burns started the Georgia Junior Bowl. And then obviously it manifested itself into a week-long program where he could also teach the kids about what they like to call the fifth quarter of life after the Georgia Junior Bowl. So the first week we talked about the week of the Junior Bowl. Last week we talked about leading into the ball game and some of the big-time names you should look out for. And of course, the game now has gone final, and I would love for you to check out ESPN3 or the Watch ESPN app. You can go back to they got a little calendar on there where you can go to Tuesday, December 30th, and you can find Team Commitment versus Team Dedication, the Georgia Junior Bowl, last Tuesday on ESPN3. I was joined by DJ Shockley on the color analysis, of course, former Georgia quarterback and SEC champion, and Rusty Mansell from 24/7 Sports, the Georgia he's the leader of their Georgia recruiting over at 24/7 Sports, and I was fortunate enough to be on the play-by-play for the fourth or fifth consecutive year, I suppose. I've lost track now, but anyway, 38-14 your final. Team Dedication beats Team Commitment, and really it was a great ball game. How about 12 turnovers? How about 12 turnovers in the ball game? My previous personal record for any game I've ever called, and I don't know, I've probably called thousands of, well, maybe not thousands of football games, hundreds certainly, but throughout my 20-year career. And I know what my personal record was. It was 11 going into last week, but we saw that record fall. That became kind of a punchline throughout the ball game between DJ and I. 12 turnovers in the ball game. But it's kind of funny because it didn't feel like it was that sloppy of a ball game. It didn't really feel like either that the two teams played that sloppy. Maybe in short bursts it felt sloppy, but really I think more than anything else you felt like you had all this scoring and all these turnovers because of the fine individual athletics and the just exceptional level of athleticism. So let's talk about some of the kids that really stood out in this Georgia Junior Bowl. Some of them very big names, some of them middle tier kids, and then some of you out there may be kind of high school football experts and maybe you've never heard of them. We'll start with Derek Brown for Team Dedication. Again, they won the ball game 38-14. This was a defensive affair early. In fact, despite the fact that Team Dedication scored 38 points in the ball game, they really were struggling offensively early in the ball game, and I mean struggling. They scored their first 10 points of the ball game off of the first two turnovers from Team Commitment. Derek Brown was absolutely dominating early in the ball game on the defensive line. The kid out of Lanier, who will probably be one of the top. Rusty Mansell thinks he'll be the number one player in the state of Georgia, arguably, for signing day of 2016. I got to tell you something. I didn't know if I believed that going into the ball game. I thought he could be certainly top 10, maybe top 5. But Rusty may have changed my mind. More importantly, Derek Brown may have changed my mind. Kid who had 17 and a half sacks during the 2014 season. Of course, led Gwinnett County. Some of you out there may know that. He had an absolute monster ball game, especially early on in the ball game, where he really dictated the pace of play defensively for team dedication on the defensive line. Elijah Holyfield, offensively, may have been the offensive star of the ball game. Had 100 yards rushing the football, 3 scores. The Woodward Academy running back, who has turned into one of the most electrifying players in this state. Evander's kid had himself quite a ball game. The kid out of Westlake, the safety, the defensive back, Nigel Warrior, had himself an interception. He looked extremely good in this ball game, terribly athletic, all over the football field in the secondary. Kind of like Khalil Ladler, the kid out of Stevenson, who's been playing since he was a freshman, starting since he was a sophomore. In fact, as a sophomore, he was an all-state selection. A kid who I've seen his entire career, and really, it's been quite an honor. He is some kind of player in the secondary. How about Darian Anderson, speaking of playing in the secondary? The Houston County product, Darian Anderson, nearly had himself an interception in the ball game, and he had a long touchdown reception in the ball game. He's really turned into one of the top two-way players in this state, and you see why Houston County had so much success in 2014. As we continue on with team dedication, just a couple more guys I want to mention. Ben Cleveland on the offensive line. For all you recruitniks out there, you know Ben Cleveland. He's a very hard Georgia commit. Had himself a good ball game on the offensive line. Kid who was 5'10", 320 as a ninth grader. 5'10", 320 as a ninth grader. Absolutely unbelievable. As a sophomore, the kid averaged 10 pancake blocks per ball game. As a sophomore, the Stevens County product. Charles Wiley ended up being the defensive star for team dedication in the second half of the ball game. Kid who had 18 sacks during the regular season. One of the top reasons Stockbridge was able to make their run to the state semifinals. Wiley had a couple of sacks, and we ISO'd on him hardcore in the second half of the ball game because the speed on Charles Wiley, that defensive lineman, is incredible. He is so very fast, so very fast. Chad Clay starts our talk of team commitment. Clay looking at Clemson, Georgia, and LSU. His new top 3. The kid out of Peachtree Ridge, certainly one of the top cornerbacks in the state of Georgia for 2016. McCole Hardman was absolutely incredible offensively. Started slowly, had a couple of turnovers early in the ball game. Fumble, a muffed punt. In reverse order, actually had a muffed punt and then a fumble. But the kid who only played in 7 games this year because he was banged up all season, kid out of Elbert County, is certainly one of the most electrifying players in this state. Had himself a very highlight reel type touchdown. Again, ESPN3, watch ESPN app. Team dedication versus team commitment. Tuesday, December 30th. Trust me, you want to see the catch and run this kid made. No moves to speak of. Just made a catch in traffic and absolutely blew away 3 defensive backs, did McCole Hardman. The man who threw him that touchdown pass was Kyle Banks, the kid out of North Paulding, who turned into one of the great quarterbacks of the 2014 season. Banks during the regular season, 60%, 3,500 yards, 32 scores, and 11 interceptions. With all of those attempts, he had 430 attempts and only 11 interceptions. The North Paulding product was probably, I'd say he was probably the best quarterback of the Chick-fil-A Foundation Georgia Junior Bowl. He also threw a touchdown pass to Kyle Banks, who was one of those elite players, a kid who is already committed to the University of South Carolina, certainly one of the top wide receivers, if not number 1 in the state of Georgia for 2016. Then there's the complete opposite. A kid like Tyler Clark, where if a big-name program came in right now, if Mark Richt offered Tyler Clark this week, I guarantee you the kid would sign. And here's the reason why. Because he has no major offers. In fact, he has very few offers at all. The kid out of America, Sumter, is terribly underrated. He had 2 sacks in the ball game, tied for the team lead. If a big name program came in and offered this kid, I bet you he would sign with them even way ahead in 2016. Trey Lamar out of Roswell was very, very good. The Roswell linebacker. He's extremely big. He's extremely physical, extremely tough. He's not overly quick. His feet need a little work. Got to get a little bit quicker with the pity pat, but he is without question one of the hardest hitters in the state of Georgia. E.J. Price became one of the top offensive linemen in 2014, and he was very good in the Georgia Junior Bowl. By the way, one of the big storylines of the Georgia Junior Bowl week, E.J. Price has transferred from Central Gwinnett to Archer. That's right. He now will be an offensive lineman for the state runner-up. And then, of course, to round things down, there's Julian Rochester. The McEachern product was all over the field in the ball game. Didn't have outstanding statistics. In fact, I think he only had 3 tackles in the ball game total. But he is, without question, one of the top players in the state. Most likely a top 3 guy in the state. Could end up being number 1. Definitely a top 5 guy. So he's anywhere in that little area. Julian Rochester is a force to be reckoned with. Speaking of force to be reckoned with, speaking of signing day, as is always the case, Touchdown Club of Atlanta will partner with 680 The Fan and Fox 5 Atlanta to put together our National Signing Day Spectacular. More details can be found on the Touchdown Club of Atlanta's website at touchdownclubofatlanta.com. I'll have more details on the TCA report as we make our way closer to National Signing Day. Until next week, I'm Chris Mooneyham for the TCA All Sports Report.